Hi, my name is Nikki Lurzak. I'm the Instructional Services Librarian at Genesee Community College, and this is Finding the Good Stuff, How to Find Books and Articles Without Breaking a Sweat. The first important concept that I want you to learn in terms of searching is a subject, and the subject is usually the main theme of your research. Subject searching is one of the best ways you can search. It's also slightly more challenging because it's tough to sometimes narrow your topic down and think of it in terms of a single larger overarching topic. So for instance, a single topic like tattooing or single mothers or college freshmen, because more often than not people think about their subjects and they think of it in terms of, well, my topic is teen alcoholism and I don't know what the subject of that is. Is my subject teenagers? Is my subject alcoholism? In this case, what you're going to want to say is, well, this is really a paper or a topic that I'm looking at is teenagers, and I'm just adding the alcoholism in to see what impact that is on teenagers. So what you would do is you would look up teenagers and you would focus in on the aspects that deal with alcohol use or drug use. I will explain that later. What that really is called is a subdivision, and we'll get to that. Subjects, like I said, can be tricky, and the number one reason why they're so tricky is because we don't use all the same words for the same things. For instance, if you were to picture in your mind the little gray bug that when you touch it curls up in a little ball, and I were to ask you, what is that called? Vast majority of people would call that maybe a potato bug. But just because that's a word or a term you're familiar with, it doesn't mean it's what everyone calls it. In fact, many people would call that a roly-poly or an armadillo bug or a pill bug. We all still mean the same thing. So knowing that there are multiple names for a single item makes it a challenge to know, well, what's the official word there? Sometimes also you run into technical or official jargon, words that only the initiated would know. So for instance, unless you are a nurse or a nursing student or a doctor or an EMT, you might not know what the official word is for a heart attack. You've probably heard words like cardiac arrest or cardiac failure, and you think, well, that's, if it's not heart attack, then maybe it's cardiac something. But the people in the other group, the ones who are part of that medical profession, would know, oh, well, that's a myocardial infarction. Whereas, obviously, the average person wouldn't have any idea that that's the official subject. So when you're dealing with jargon or multiple words for the same topic, it can be challenging. So one thing that can help us a lot is that brainstorming, to sit down and spend a couple of minutes thinking about all of the different words that you could possibly use to describe the same thing. So instead of you had to focus on the United States, you might think of America or American. And kids, groups of people are the most challenging because what can we call kids? I mean, there's children, there's youth, there's young adults, there's adolescents, there's teenagers, and so on. The challenge is to say, okay, I know I've got to come up with some possibilities just in case what I've tried as my first choice or my second choice doesn't work out. Having a good vocabulary will help you a lot here. Winnie the Pooh would say, think, think, think. A little bit more about subjects. What we do with our subjects, now that we've clumped all of our related materials together, then we break them down into subdivisions. And here again is what gets to the heart of a subject search and why it's a great thing. Because it's organized this material for us. It's put all of the same stuff together. And if you need some help thinking about how subjects and subdivisions go together, think about the last time you might have gone to the supermarket or the last time you might have looked in the paper at the classifieds. You'll notice that the supermarket breaks things down by these larger topics. So, but within dairy, you've got cheese, you've got milk. Within the bakery, you've got breads, you've got cakes. So the bakery is the place where all of those baked goods come together, but within the bakery, you can be broken down in a few different ways. The same thing for when you're looking in the classifieds, right? Employment, well, that can be part-time, it can be full-time, it can be seasonal. When you're looking at merchandise, I mean, how many different ways? There's furniture, there's pets, there's lots of different ways to break down these larger categories, but that larger category of employment brings all the job ads into one central location, and then you would focus on simply the aspects you are interested in. So for instance, if you were thinking about the American Civil War, clearly the war is a large topic and you wouldn't want everything on the war. Those subdivisions will help you find that focus that you were interested in. If, for instance, you were interested in the medical care that the soldiers received in the Civil War, then you would click on the Civil War and go into that subdivision of medical care. When you're using subject searching, you will find that most of our databases are accommodating in that way. We set most of the library databases to go straight to subject searching, though not all of them always do. There is the odd occasional database that doesn't go to subject searching as its default screen. So it's always very important to read your screen and be aware of where you are and what the search you're about to do will result in, because if what you want to do is a different kind of search than subject searching, you shouldn't be on a subject searching page because library databases don't adapt that quickly. The other way we search, the other big and important concept that I want you to know is something called keyword. Now, keyword searching is the kind of searching that most people do all of the time. It's when you're just got, hey, I want this word, and I want this word, and I want this word, and anytime you go to Google or any other internet search engine and you throw a couple words in there, that is a keyword search because that search engine is looking for all of the websites that have the words you've specified. In library databases, keywords are great for also combining subjects together. So if you have two separate subjects like tattooing and discrimination, or single mothers and stress, you can combine them together to say, I would like all of the items that have these two subjects. Wherever these two subjects cross paths, that's what I'm looking for. The big difference between library databases and the internet in this way is that a lot of library databases don't understand a small string of words, such as single mother stress. They would expect, the library database would expect, that you would like to find something that has the word single, followed immediately by the word mothers, followed immediately by the word stress. Where the search engine understands that's not necessarily the case and just looks for those words wherever, the library database is going to treat that as, oh, this is a big phrase and it should be clumped together. In library database land, it is very important to use the word and to separate your concepts, right? Single mothers is my concept. Stress is my other concept. And between those two concepts, my two subjects, I want that word and. All right? College freshman. I want college freshmen together. Binge drinking, I want together. So those two subjects I'm going to separate with an and, which means I'll be sure to get them in that order that way. Because subject searching is the better type of search in the way that it organizes your results and helps you focus in a better way, keyword searching is not necessarily the first kind of search you want to do. Keyword searching works best when you cannot match a subject. If you are simply not guessing whatever the database has given as the official term for your subject, for instance, think back to that myocardial infarction, you may never guess that one. So if you've tried cardiac arrest, cardiac failure, and you're not getting anywhere, now is the time for a keyword search and you go, I simply don't know what the official subject is for that. Occasionally also there'll be a new term. Nintendo Wii, while it's been around for a little while, and as has the iPhone, when a new term comes out, it's not immediately created as a subject in library databases. It takes some time to become common enough that it becomes a subject. Initially, the only way you'll find those sort of phrases, if they're so new, would be as a keyword search. The last type is when you really are doing something that's extremely complex, okay? When you have many elements to the search that you need to find. For instance, when you're looking for United States foreign relations and France and the 18th century. That is a many-part search. So using ands to separate all the major concepts out would be the way to go there. To refresh, subject versus keyword. Subject is good for exploring different aspects of a single topic through those subdivisions. So for instance, if your topic was cancer, you could focus in on the causes or the diagnosis or the psychological aspects through those subdivisions that will point you to the way this topic can be focused. Or perhaps you are interested in the social aspects or the ethical aspects or the public opinion of capital punishment. Again, those would be subdivisions of that capital punishment larger subject. Keyword, great for combining topics together, participation in sports and self-esteem, children of single parents and academic achievement, sleep deprivation, and college students. Also good for newer terms. So hopefully that has been enough to give you an idea of what the difference is between subject and keyword. And from here on out, we're going to take a look with our searching the book catalog and searching General One file to actually go forth and practice these skills. Good luck.